My guest died of a heart attack. He knows what happens when you die, the whole process. Now, he knows what heaven is like. And he returned physically healed with an urgent message for us, for you. Next. I've never had this happen before. A Messianic Jewish rabbi, Rabbi Halpern. I'll tell you, Felix, I've never had anyone call me up and say, Sid, I have an angel here right now. That wasn't a norm before that medical mistake occurred. Tell me about that.
By no means. To go through the process of dying from a medical mistake, consuming 7.5 months of medication in 29 days.
That's quite a mistake.
Thrust my body for 1 month into a toxic state, which doctors called an inner storm. And the final week, things began to accelerate where my body was on fire, my chest was in pain, my back, every muscle was hurting, and all had typical signs of a heart attack. But for some reason, I kept thinking that it would go away. Until one night was the worst night of the whole process, where I couldn't take any more pain. At 3 a.m., I go down to the living room, and my heart stopped. It had too much. And in an instant, actually in the twinkling of an eye, which is only 1/3 of a second, like that, my soul stepped out of my body. It began to rise in the spiritual realm. And at one point, I could see my body on the couch, lifeless. An angel came as I'm lying horizontally in the spiritual realm, and he's moving his hand on me. I could see his body, powerful, with authority. And in the right side of my vision, where I was lying down in the spiritual realms, again, I stress, was a white light, a distant light through a tunnel-like tube, if you will, or a tunnel.
In this process, were you fearful at all?
When death took place, all the night's pain, all the months was gone, but there was an incredible peace and joy, and there was absolutely no fear. But then the journey continued, and the next thing I knew, that I was before the throne of heaven.
What did you see?
A ring of fire.
You're feeling emotion right now. Why?
When I came before the throne, and I get emotional with that too, because you're before the throne. A ring of fire encircles the throne, ripples of fire and ripples of glory with depth, with protecting the throne. And I immediately went down upon my face. I remember covering my eyes because I could not stand the glory, the brilliance, the fire. I had to cover my eyes. To this day, when I'm in the presence of God and I come into His glory and I'm worshiping, it's common for me to cover my eyes now. But I lied before the throne of God. I saw the throne, I saw the feet of our Lord. And the throne rested on a crystal sea, a crystal firmament that separated the third heaven from the lower heavens. And so, as I'm in heaven, I was by a river. The river flowed, it seemed, from the throne, and I don't know to where it went, but it was flowing. What was remarkable was the waters of the river were so crystal clear. Clearer than any water that I would imagine that if I can go to some highest mountain point on the earth and see water running down the stream, it would not be as clear. The water seemed to be life-giving in its natural state. And under the riverbed, sparkling gemstones, minerals, semi-precious, precious stones that had a glow and a sparkle to them, diamonds and rubies and emeralds, everything in its perfect state. There's life in the air. There's life everywhere. Everything is life-giving. Everything has a natural rhythm to it by the Creator.
How free did you feel?
I felt like a bird that had just taken flight for the first time. I imagine a bird that leaves the house, the birdhouse, and it's the first time the bird feels the wind under its wings and takes flight. I felt what it feels like in the incorruptible state to have no resistance, to move through air, no earthly boundaries whatsoever.
All right, let me take you now. When you were sent back, you went back to your body. Was there any pain in that process? Any fear in that process?
No. But the moment it was time for God to breathe life back into me, a rush of wind came out of nowhere. Keep in mind, I'm in my family room. A rush of wind entered through my nostrils and mouth, went down into the deepest recesses of my lungs, threw my head back. I took a gasp of breath, like coming out of being underwater and you have your last breath, otherwise you'll drown. I broke and took a deep breath, and my head was jolted backward. And when it happened, I shook my head like this. I said, "What in the world just happened?" And then I realized what happened. The Lord had brought me back to life.
After you came back to life, you got your final doctor's report. What did they say about your health and your heart condition, everything?
The doctor said to me, "I don't know what to make of your blood work, but at a 68-year-old man, you have the blood work of a young stag."
What's the message? I can't wait till we get to heaven, but we have work to do here. I know you're more than ready for Rabbi Felix's urgent message. He was sent back to give you. Be right back.
We will be right back to It's Supernatural.